And I'm joined by Mr. Troy Redfern. How you keeping, Troy, man?
Not so bad. Cheers, Sam, again, Lee. Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. I think this puts you back in the lead as my most interviewed guest, mate. It seems to flip between yourself and me. I think you're back in the league.
Superb, superb. How's things? Everything good with you, man?
Yeah, everything's going good, dude. Everything's going really well, mate. How about yourself?
Yeah, just trying to get everything sorted. We're out from Monday. The tour starts Monday, so it's just literally, yeah, getting it all together and ready to go on the road.
Yeah, man. Like you say, the tour starts on Monday for support of Invocation. I didn't realize this was your first headline tour.
Yeah, I've done sort of, a lot of gigs in the past. Just isolated gigs, a lot of supports, a lot of festivals. But as far as a run of dates by myself, I've got support bands for each venue's putting in their own support. But yeah, it's the first one, and it's a great time, to be doing it with the industry like it is.
So, industry aside, what made you want to do now as your first run of headline shows?
um, I think just I put the third album that's been sort of promoted and pushed properly,
Mm.
and yeah, I just thought that we could just get on with it and start sort of and doing some sort of dates under my own name, really. Um, so yeah, I should have been doing it a long time ago, but it's like I said, a lot over the last couple of years, a lot of supports have come in, and I think that's important to do those. You've got sort of great built-in audiences, and you're getting to reach people you wouldn't normally get to reach. So all that's good stuff. But yeah, it's good to get out there and to be able to sort of do a longer set and people to hear a full set, an hour 30, whatever it is, and instead of the usual sort of half hour, sort of just hit it hard. This set will have chance to breathe and dynamically sort of come down a little bit. So it's not just like foot to the floor, which it normally is.
Like you said, we'll talk about the set breathe there. I saw in the notes that you are going to be playing, Invocation in its entirety, as part of the set.
Yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, it won't be sort of like in the running order necessarily of the album, but yeah, we're doing everything off that album. Plus stuff like things like Ghosts, which was a single that I've never had in the set list, and a few other things off Wings of Salvation that just haven't been played. Again, it's down to the length of your set list if you're doing supports and whatnot. What you can put in there, so you end up putting your strongest stuff in there, or a set that kind of is powerful, so you just pick and choose stuff. But this time we got chance to put in things that, you know, like I said, doing an hour and a half set, you got time to sort of like space it out and just put things in. Ghost should have been in the set a long time ago. That single from Fire Cosmic probably did the best out of from that album, as far as the single and the reach and whatnot of that. So it's been crazy that we've not been playing things like that.
Have you found that have you had fun with in terms of playing in those longer sets and in terms of like saying, well, we can play this deeper cut or we can take it down this avenue and show another sort of texture rather than like you say being all balls to all support and going out to
Yeah,
smash.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Putting the set together, we had some rehearsals probably about 3 weeks ago, and yeah, it was interesting just thinking, how can we do this and what can we do to make it different? So when people come, they're hearing a different set than I've been sort of like doing over the last few years. Yeah, it's quite an extensive set. There's a lot of songs in there, and a lot of the stuff we're doing is singles. So there's some of them are short songs, and then we're doing some tracks where we do extensions, like Sanctify and stuff like that, where we extend it. Because that's always been a sort of part of the set that I've enjoyed. Where you kind of instead of just playing the songs kind of as is, you get to sort of expand them and do a different live version of them.
Nice, man. When you talk about rehearsals there, obviously across the times I've seen you, playing just out you on your own. I've seen you as the power trio. I'm assuming
Yeah,
full headline tour, you're gonna have power trio, but equally I've seen you with other musicians along the way, obviously depending on who's available. Is it Nikki and Kira on this tour?
it is. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've settled. With Nick is not far from me. He's about an hour. I've known Nicky for God knows how long, like 15 years probably. On on and off. You know, I sort of played with him. Going way back before I started my own band under my own name, and he was one of the first drummers that I contacted when I started my own set to see if he wanted to play. He just joined another band, sort of I don't know, sort of 3 months before I contacted him, so he couldn't do it. So it's great to have Nicky in the set, really, because we're good friends, and he's a perfect fit. Like, he works really hard to sort of nail the songs. Like a lot of people, I've had some great players. I've been lucky to sort of have some really good drummers, but Nicky's sort of, he's just perfect. And obviously Kira's been with me now since lockdown. When we came out of that, since I started doing sets. So it was, it's a good unit, really good unit.
Nice one, man. That's really good. Like I say, it's always better if you can go out with the full attack to represent the songs as best you can.
Yeah. I don't mind. I'll go out and do, if someone specifically asked me to do it sort of like a solo or duo set, I'll do that. Duo, I find I can do it if I've got a drummer with me or sort of like some sort of beat to play off. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
It's a harder gig just just out by yourself, because I'm not the sort of guy that sits down on a stool and does an acoustic thing. I've never been comfortable with that. So it's nice to have that sort of backing, and it's the sort of thing when you got a rhythm section like that, you can take your hands off the guitar and the music still carries on. When you're out by yourself solo, it's a different story.
Let's see, you don't have to fill in those gaps necessarily yourself. You've got
no. Ideally, if I had that, again, it's down to budget, but I'd love to have either a keys player or maybe a second guitarist, rhythm guitarist. At some point I do that, because I think with the 4-piece, it can sound a little bit more hi-fi. 3-piece is very sort of quite a punchy, aggressive sound when you get the 3-piece. Like things like bands like Hendrix or Rory Gallagher, is that kind of like quite aggressive thing.
A bit more in it.
Yeah, but when you seem to bring in extra instruments, it definitely sounds more hi-fi. I did a couple of gigs with Matt Edwards on second guitar going back quite a few years, and that was great. I loved having an extra guitar for textures and space.
Yeah. Oh, nice one, man. Obviously, this album is, the tour is in support of the Invocation album, like we said.
Yeah.
How would you say when you were writing this that it differed in terms of, did your approach change from, say, Wings of Salvation or Fire Cosmic, or was it just a case of that's what came out of you this time round?
Yeah, exactly. That's just what came out. I'm a sort of like a strong believer in, if I had this month to write something, that would be different if I had next month. So the ideas that come out sort of in any little period of time are just little snapshots, and it was just, we chose that time to do it. So that you had the things before, which were like Wings of Salvation, you had this Invocation sort of group of songs. If I had the budget, I'd do one a month. I genuinely would. If I had the cash to throw at it. But no, the thing was pretty much the same as Wings. Really, sort of fast turnaround, and just hitting it super fast and super hard. But I still like Fire Cosmic. I listened to that, and that was done a completely different way. There was no one else involved with anything really. Paul Winstanley produced it, but he was kind of, I'd done sort of like really in-depth demos.
Oh, yeah.
So everyone knew what it was going to be. We tracked to the demos, and so what you got in the end was quite similar. Obviously, it'd been mixed and mastered, and we tweaked it, but the core of it was there already before we started recording it. Where the last 2 albums have been from scratch. But no, I'm pleased with it. Now I'm far enough away from it. It's like anyone. Like when you write an album, you're in it. When it's being mixed, you're too close to it almost to get an idea of what it is. You've heard it too many times. You've heard people tweaking it and mixing it. But now I'm far enough away from it to sort of stand back and be like, right, okay, and I'm pleased. I'm pleased with it. I think there doesn't feel like there's any fillers in there when I listen to it. It feels like solid songs. You know what I mean? And that's all you can hope for, really.
Absolutely, man. I mean, like you said, the album itself has been out a couple of weeks now. 17th of May that came out. So
yeah.
Have you had any sort of reactions to songs from people that you weren't maybe expecting, songs that you we're just waiting to see people's response to, or
Only keeping an eye on sort of streaming. The tracks have streamed well. This album sort of like, as far as streaming has gone sort of up, massively. And maybe because I've had a lull, you know what I mean? And I don't promote most of my contemporaries, people on the scene the same level as me, pay for Spotify promotion. You know what I mean? They do. That's how they do it, But that's paying people to listen to music, really. I know you get playing to get a playlist, but it's hard enough to make any money back on what you're doing anyhow. But then sort of throwing it, it looks good, it looks great. So if people look at your Spotify, they can go, wow, this, so many people love this person. But there's different ways of looking at it. I think, but going back to the question, things like All Night Long and Take Me High are sort of the most streamed songs. Besides, I think Van Helsing is obviously, because it's a single, it's got a lot of plays. But that really sort of shocked me. All Night Long to me is like feels like a live track. It's just a set opener, and it's not the sort of thing that I would think that would be the sort of thing that would get, because that one, that Take Me High and All Night Long, were quite quickly. Those are really quick to record. They're kind of like almost like instant ideas. You know what I mean? The sort of things that you don't, whereas something like Van Helsing was more. The core of the idea was super fast to get out, but then we worked it up. So yeah, maybe it's just that those are more straightforward songs, and people like that kind of straightforward sort of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is. I mean, I think there's always, the singles went down really well, obviously, and you always get those sort of peaks when anything's single. But I think people will naturally then go and discover, they'll go deeper into an album and they'll find their whatever suits it. I mean, for me, I'm glad the album's out now because we can talk about Native, which I absolutely love, and we haven't to talk about Native before because obviously it wasn't released as a single.
Yeah.
But where did that come from in the writing? Because that's got a really cool vibe about it. I really was digging that.
It was just I remember the opening riff to that was just sort of during the process. I had projects open, and I can't remember if it was Silvertone or the Tesco guitar, but I plug one of those in and started playing, and that kind of like that riff came out, and then I quickly sort of like put some sort of basic drums in, similar to what's in that tribal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And once that was in, that intro set the mood for everything. I mean, it kind of each section just followed that vibe. So that little loop at the beginning, or it was in the demo stage, just set it up. So it was just to do with the tempo, those sort of tribal sort of drums, and that guitar riff, and then the rest of it just section by section sort of like flowed out. But it wasn't it wasn't difficult once that bit was in, because it was set. As soon as you hear that track, you can get the vibe of it, and it is vibey, and that's what I do like about that one, and playing that one live. It's not foot to the floor. It does. I know it gets bigger in towards the end, but it's definitely a different vibe, and that's what you want track to track on a record. You don't want it to be all sledgehammer in the face kind of. You want a sort of bit of light and shade.
Yeah, a bit of texture and everything else, and you've always had that on the albums, mate. And I think those naturally, when you do have them, it's the ones that kind of can stand out, for want of a better term. Obviously, all the songs are solid.
Yeah.
Can do that. It was the same on Wings of Salvation with Dark Religion. That had a completely different vibe to the rest of the album.
And funnily enough, that one I like as well. I really like that one. Again, live, because it's not like, and it's not like any of the others. So it's weird you pointed that one out, because and that one I think was just down to using a minor tuning. So that, again, the tuning sort of set you in a kind of in a headspace, and then it kind of everything follows from that.
Yeah. Well, speaking of sort of like the different vibes and all that, were there any songs on Invocation when you were writing that really kind of morphed from the initial kind of idea maybe to, like, for one of a term, the finished concept?
Take Me High was the only problem track, only because the verse was locked in and was straightforward, and that's kind of like was always the same. And but the chorus, we went back and forward on it. There was it was a major sounding chorus, then it was a blues sounding chorus, and then so what is now is it's almost like a cut between the two. So you've got like the major sounding half of the chorus, and then the bluesy sort of back end of the melody. Things like Voodoo Priestess came out pretty quick. The core idea. I think that the only thing is, once you got those core melodies and verses and choruses, it's just then getting good shapes, and and just refining the guitar part. So you put one guitar part in, and then when you get the proper drums in, and you refine it again, and I'm just trying to think what else. Nothing was difficult, on that. I didn't struggle or fight with it, except Take Me High. That was the only one that kind of, if I remember, like I said, it's quite a while. It's about a year since we recorded it, so it's kind of. But I think that was the only one that sort of caused some issues.
No, that's fine. So it sounds like similarly to Wings of Salvation, it was quite a straightforward writing process. I remember you saying you had quite a.
Yeah, it was super fast. Again, because as we spoke about it. I had Dave producing, and we worked on it sort of like intense. We were working sort of long days every day for a sort of month, on it, or was it 5 weeks maybe? And so it's pretty intensive. And you've got someone like that. If you've got two of you working on it, so he's got access to my system and vice versa. So you're in the initial stages, you're just bouncing backwards and forwards and arranging stuff super fast, faster than you can sort of think. And then I remember the process was quite hard, because then I had only sketches of lyrics, so by nonsense lyrics that you put in. So I had 10 songs to write lyrics for, probably in a week, or so that's the only time when it gets a bit stressful, because you need to sort of get it done and get done quick. But at the same time, because that thing of deadlines, that really can bring, for me, and I work well with it. What I've realized over the last few years, I work really well with deadlines. If there's a date, it has to be done. You got to do it. There's no kind of like, there's no I can't do it. It's got to be done, because it's got to be delivered to be mixed and whatnot. And it's the same with the artwork and stuff like that. We spoke about this before, but when it needs to be done, and they need the artwork to start printing up the vinyl or whatever, then it's just got to be done and delivered. And it's better that, because if it's a vague date that it can be done by whenever, I'm the sort of person who just won't get it done, or I'll attack a little bit, But when I got a solid date to get things finished, I've realised that kind of works with
No, I kind of gather that just from personal conversations we've had, sort of just mate to mate.
Yeah.
You've been saying, "Oh, this video's got to get done by such and such, mate." I've got short term. Every time we have a chat, something's got a short deadline for you, mate. So I kind of gather.
Well, each of those videos for the 4 videos, I can't remember. But say the single was coming out on a Friday, whatever it was, we'd shoot the video on the Wednesday or Tuesday, and then edit it the following day. I'd chop it up and then get it delivered. And I'd always manage, just by the skin of my teeth, to get it delivered for the day it needed to be done by. But it was always that kind of, instead of doing it 2 weeks before, having some nice time with it, it was always that kind of intense, got to get this done. And but again, I think that's cool, because on the calling, I gave my mate Alan Hargest, who's my best old school mate, we've known each other since we were 9, and I messaged Alan and said, "Look, are you about to do a video?" He said, "Yeah." He sort of came over and he said, "What are we doing?" I said, "I've no idea." So I went to the wardrobe to find some what am I going to do? I find a fur jacket, grab that. I said, "Right, there's a wood called the Radnor Forest just up from here, about 10 miles away." I said, "Let's go up there." So we sort of wandered around there, found a spot in the forest, and then just mime to the track, and then in the edit, I brought the footage back, chopped it up, found some extra B-roll footage of sort of the crow bits and these other bits, and got it together. But it was literally, he turned up at the house and there was no clue of what we were going to do. As in, there was no storyboard, there was nothing. But when I watch it back, it's a great video. I think it's all right, considering how it's done, man. It's one of those things that it's really difficult with videos, because sometimes if you see people make a video, especially at this kind of level, with a story, with, you know, extra actors and stuff like that, and it can go really cheesy really fast, and it just like, oh god, you know. So I wouldn't want to go there because I couldn't, you know, there's no way I could do that, pull that off. So normally they're just like performance videos, like you sort of playing it, you know, in a whatever environment, you know, and because the way I see it is, videos are so transient. Like you put a video up on social media or YouTube, within 2 or 3 days, especially on socials, it's forgotten about. You know, you can chop that up and put a few extra little bits of different versions of it, but that's it. You know, and in the past, I've spent, you know, £800 on a video, and it's just like, it seems like a lot of money for something so disposable. It's not like MTV's days where, you know, people are going to watch it over and over. No one, you know, cares really. You know, it's literally just a way of someone filtering it through that, isn't it? You know, through that visual. But yeah, no, I'm glad. You know, I'm glad that again, doing it myself has forced me to, you know, learn how to edit and do that kind of stuff to whatever level. You know, it's not perfect, you know, whatever, but you know, it's nice to not have to rely on someone else to do it. You know,
That's all, man. But also, I'm guessing you played a few of the songs live already with them being singles and stuff. But is there any songs that are getting their debut as of Monday that you're really looking forward to?
I've just got the set list actually, but right behind the camera, so I'm just looking at it. Let's think. Voodoo Priestess has never been played. I think.
Nice.
So Heart and Soul, that's not been played. Yeah, there's a few bits and pieces. Blind Me has not been played. I think. Let's say Ghosts. We've done the Native before, so yeah, there's a few bits and pieces. You know.
That was cool, man. Nice to sort of freshen up the set. And like you say, what we were talking about earlier, it's got to be good to add those other elements to the set and show different sides to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and just, you know, not be sort of like, you know, not be panicked. You know what I mean? Into sort of like just doing like a 30-minute set where you just, you know, you can't really talk to the audience because anything, you know, any of the gaps, you know, that in between songs, you know, you kind of rush in those because you just want to get onto the next song to get as much, you know, music out as possible instead of talking. So at least we can just, you know, pull back a little bit and just, you know, enjoy it really.
Nice. I've seen on your Facebook, mate, that you've recently had your excuse me, your 1920s Oscar Schmidt guitar. You've had that redone from lap. There it is.
Little fella.
Hey.
sat right next to me. No, it's, yeah, I've had this for like, yeah, it must be about 20 years. And you couldn't play it because the string, what it had got a nut raiser. So
Okay.
from the factory, this wooden nut was kind of like raised right up, you know, off kind of there.
So it's pure lap play, was it?
It was, yeah, and it had a sticker on the front which showed you like a gold paper. So the fretboard had never been, you know, these frets had never been played before.
Wow.
So you had to basically take the neck off to reset the angle because they haven't got truss rods, these old things. Put a new nut on, clean up off the neck. And so, yeah, it was the first time I ever actually played it like a proper guitar because I did occasionally sort of do stuff. And another thing, this top had bellied, you know, when they sort of sag in. So we sort of took the, you know, I don't know what they call it, but they sort of pop, you know, pop back out and it's sort of straight. So that's great. You know, I need to get a pickup on it because, you know, I want to use that one live.
Oh, wow.
And probably put it through the amplifier and do something nasty with it. You know, take get see these sort of like, you know, vintage guitar freaks pulling their hair out, going, "What the hell are you doing with that?" But no, it's really nice. It's nice that, you know, that I've got a few of these old guitars now. But that one especially, like it's been in the studio and kicking around for ages. Like, you know, I really want to be able to play it. And yeah, so it's really cool to have that. And that old tenor guitar, which is behind me, I wanted to take that out as well. I was trying to think if there was anything in the set I could do with that, you know, because that's got its kind of own sound and its own thing going on. You know, it'd be nice to take that out on the road.
I like the fact that you do use these guitars. I mean, there's got to be a bit, they say, I'm sure there's some vintage freaks that get a little bit like, you can't play that. That's got to be in a glass case and kept and left alone sort of thing. But
well, it's more, I think, the way I feel it, you know, and I might be wrong because that's just me. But most of the people who play the early sort of nationals, the 20s nationals, would play The music of that era
Yeah.
on them. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like it's that old timey kind of like, let's pretend we're from 1920
Yeah.
sort of guitar playing, which is fine. You know, it's great if if you like that sort of, but it would be more like, because I'm playing just rock stuff on it, all kind of like, heavy blues. It's usually a sort of like a look down the nose kind of vibe, but I haven't sort of I haven't actually experienced. I've spoken to, over the last few years, I've become sort of friends with some really nice folks who aren't like that. People like Michael Messer. Have you heard of Michael Messer?
Yeah, the name, yeah.
Yeah, he's one of the most knowledgeable guys on resonators. He's builds. Well, there's one over there. One of his guitars, one of his Michael Messer's resonators, and they're basically, if you're not buying a vintage National, they're renowned as being the next best thing to a vintage National. And he's lovely. And I sent him a copy of the album early, and we had a chat. And so those guys don't. And Mark Makin is literally the guy who wrote the book on vintage resonators. It's a thick, chunky book by Mark Makin, and I had a chat to him probably a month or two ago, and he was a super knowledgeable guy on those. He's literally got all the records of all the date codes off from all over the world of people who've got these guitars. So he keeps records of who's got them and where they are. And he was lovely. So there was no sort of like weird snobbery from those guys, and they are the guys. They really are. Yeah, honestly, they are so that's lovely that they're supportive and nice people. And yeah, but it is nice doing something. I think we said about it before. I've got guitars sitting over in the rack that are super easy to play, but playing those old guitars with the thick, with quite high tension strings on, forces you not to be able to do the stuff that it limits what you can do physically, because they're harder to play. So within that, then you have to make something using that, as a writing tool. So it changes what you would write, because it's limited, and it's not easy to play. And I like that. I like that. And I think, folks like Jack White do that as well. It's not like a unique thing, you know what I mean? It's like, but no, but I do like, the Strats and stuff, and the Les Pauls. They're a different sort of animal. But you would definitely write something. I would, and write something different with those.
Like you say, it's a different sound. It's a different tool. You're gonna do a different job with it.
Yeah, because it's gonna be sort of a lot slicker and a lot easier.
Yeah.
But no, I love, the old white Nationals getting a bit sort of beaten up, more beaten up than it was. And I wonder when I'll retire that thing, because if too much paint comes off, I'll probably keep it back here.
So with that though, like obviously, like say you got a few of the sort of more elder guitars, and now, and like myself, you do like your blues as well. But if you could own a guitar from anyone, like if you could pick an artist that you could have like one of their guitars, say, who would you want a guitar from?
One of their own guitars, one of theirs.
Yeah, if you could go back and nick a guitar from anyone.
Oh geez. Probably Zappa's an 84 Strat, that yellow Strat that was around. Yeah, with the black pickguard. That was obviously a parts caster. I think that was just built by a company, Performance Guitars, I think, in LA. I think they put that together for. I'm trying to think what else. What other guitars? Probably Les Paul's first guitar, if I had a time machine, because I think it'd be worth an absolute fortune.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's a lot of guitars. Yeah, probably Steve Vai's first multicolor that's on Passion and Warfare cover. I'd probably go for that as well.
It's probably worth a few quid as well.
But I think, what's his name's got? I'm trying to think of the lad who's got it. He gave it to. Do you remember the Audience's Listening video?
Yeah.
That young Thomas McRocklin.
Yeah.
Thomas McRocklin, who now has a Instagram channel and does a lot with guitars, and he's got quite a together sort of thing going on. But he gave that guitar from Passion and Warfare to Thomas McRocklin, and he's got it. Yeah. Wow. It's actually got a monkey grip, because the one on the cover hasn't got a monkey grip. So they airbrushed that monkey grip well, filled it in.
Yeah, put it in and
Yeah, but he's got it. Yeah, he's got it. So that's interesting. That's yeah, like you said, it's probably going to sell quite a bit. But
absolutely,
I'm sure Prince's guitars are amazing as well. Actually, talking of guitar, good guitars.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
want all of
he just won all of them. I don't think Prince gets the credit he deserves as he's known as a sort of modern genius, but as a bass
Oh,
player, I
yeah.
mean, Prince is fantastic.
Well, and a arranger, writer, producer, sort of, just the whole everything really, isn't it? He was just even what he was doing, the sort of like early '80s with drum machines and stuff. That was a brilliant. Everything. That guy touches a bit. There's not many of them around. Lenny Kravitz is another one, but I don't think quite the level of control of Prince, maybe. Because I think Prince was a sort of a one man thing, wasn't he?
Yeah,
He controlled it. And
very much have more of a grip on it, I think, than Lenny. Lenny does a lot.
yeah,
I'm a big fan of Lenny, but yeah,
yeah.
I think Prince definitely had more of a reins getting tight in.
Yeah, which is fine, because that worked for him, and he got so much done. You know what I mean? And a bit like Zappa, you know what I mean? And Zappa got a lot done, and was the one who was in control and paying the wages and all that kind of stuff. And if you're paying the wages and you are the boss, in that kind of way, like of an organization, then you can do that, I suppose. And if people want to work for you, they can. If they don't, there's someone else waiting in the queue, I suppose.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely would be. But speaking of great guitarists and everything, as long as your own tour, which is about to kick off, you're also back on the road with Philip Sayce at the end of the year, aren't you?
Yeah, back out in November. Yeah. So I'm not sure how we're doing it this time. It might be as a duo in some format. I don't know what, but it won't be full drum kit. So we're just going to work around to sort of see what we can do. But yeah, that should be good. I'm pondering on writing a set, because I'm guessing it'd be a half-hour set. I'm thinking about writing a set of music for that tour. So I want to get this tour out of the way first. I'm not.
Yeah.
I've started notebooking ideas already and stuff, and I'm like, I just need to leave that. Stop. Leave that alone.
Focus on the next couple of weeks, mate.
Yeah, that's exactly. Just think about what's ahead. Get that done, and then there's like scattered festivals and stuff. But there'd be a block of time to. Half hour is not a long set. So it'd be nice to have something new and fresh and designed for that format. Because when I'm going out doing the sets, normally I'm doing things like Sweet Carolina and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They were never really designed to be done solo.
No.
So it'd be nice to kind of like from the ground up know that that's what it's for. So because you'd write completely different. Well, I'd write completely differently if I knew it was going to be, say, me and program drums, or me and a bass, or me and another guitar. You'd be like, okay,
You can work with that vision a bit, mate. You know what's going to work, and you don't
yeah.
You're not trying to put a square peg in a round hole sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think rhythmically it'd be a lot easier to do that instead of trying to infer drum beats in those songs, solo. You could write that rhythm in to the track. Ideally, I did go out with when we it was straight out of lockdown. I went out with Robert John on the Wreck, and I took a kick drum out and kind of did the Rain Wolf kind of thing, with a bass drum. Man, that was hard. That was just killer, because once you start, you got to do it. I didn't really sort of work up to it. I'd never done it before, so I just kind of went out there and hoped for the best.
I bet your legs loved you. I bet your calves loved you, mate.
Well, it wasn't. It was. I tell you what it was. It was the back. It was the back foot, the one that wasn't on the drum, that was supporting. If you're doing it in the stance with the back kind of bent, that was killer. That was hard work. So I swore I'd never do that again. So ideally I'd just have like one of those like boards you just put your foot on and stamp. But then again, it means you're locked into standing in one spot, and not moving around at all. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going back out. I was surprised that Philip wanted me back out, because if this wasn't sort of like management or anything like that, Philip, he said at the end of the tour, he loved, we got on really well, and he was a super lovely guy, and he said, we'll have to do it again. And I just thought that was the kind of thing you say at the end of a tour, but just being a lovely guy, which he was. And no, he meant we'll have to do it again. So we're back out, and that'd be great. that was a massive highlight. Like, I've been a fan of his since early 2000s, and always found him super inspirational, especially back in those days before I put my own band together. He was kind of the impetus for putting the Electric Blues Reaction together, which is the band I had before I was doing my own thing. And it was funny. I used to do some guitar lessons back then, sort of around sort of mid 2000s, and when I played my first night in Bristol, a lad called Andy, who was only probably about 13 at the time, his dad used to bring him over to the house for lessons, and he was at the Bristol show, and he came to the merch stand, and he said because I used to show him Philip Sayce videos on, that I used to download from YouTube because it was back in the dial-up days, and he said, you wouldn't have believed it, back then that you'd be sort of like out with Philip Sayce, and he was right, but Philip was a sort of massive sort of influence in that early band there, and it was like, it was a massive, getting up on stage in London, that was a
That
huge,
really cool.
it was a huge kick. It was like, geez, because the night before we were playing in Leeds, and we were sat in, with the Brudenell and doing sound check, and they were on stage, and I was watching their sound check, and he said, "Where's Troy?" And I was just sat over there, and he said, "This is what we're doing tomorrow night," and they started playing. So I got my phone out quickly and hit record on video. So they went through this track, which had, it wasn't difficult, but it was, wanted to know the changes. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
So, and luckily that I bought some strings in Newcastle because I'd only taken a couple of guitars out with me. So I restrung the Silvertone, changed to E flat, which is what they were in the key of E flat. And, so I was in open tuning, but in E flat. And went out there and I watched this video back a few times, and it was weird because back in the day that around here when there were sort of blues bands, there'd be a lot of people jumping up with other people. It was kind of a thing, it's a thing, isn't it, in the blues kind of world. So it half felt like that, but at the same time, it was obviously a sellout crowd at the garage, so it was a big old audience there, but the vibe was that still, that kind of jam thing, and but just jamming with someone who's you've been a fan of for a long time,
No, that's one, man. Do you think you'd ever do that yourself on the other end of the foot? Would you ever bring up someone to jam with you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I used to a lot. I used to do that. Probably pre-COVID. I think the set list has changed a lot, from the set, but the pre-Fire Cosmic set.
Yeah.
It was easier to do that, to get people up.
Yeah.
There were a lot of songs with that kind of vibe, that kind of more bluesier sort of vibe that could, means you could extend it in that kind of blues sort of way. Whereas there's not a lot in the set these days that are like that. Like, you couldn't really do it with, you could sort of have someone jam with you on the end of the Native and things like that. And, Voodoo Priestess, I'm just looking at the set list now, which that would be difficult. There's so many strange, it'd be impossible to do it with. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot that you couldn't. But funny enough, the retro in Manchester, we might have a guest up. So yeah, I've got to look at the set list and see what track that we can do that on. Maybe something like Waiting for Your Love or Sanctify. So yeah, that should be good.
No, nice one. Well, anyone who's listening to this and is going to Manchester, watch out for the potential special guest popping up.
Yeah, he lives on a barge.
Oh,
you know that is.
I've got a clue.
Yeah, you haven't got a clue.
No, I've got a clue.
Yeah, you guys got a clue. Yeah. So yeah, that'd be good. That'd be good, to do that. To have a sort of like a. We spoke about it. Well, I saw him recently. We did a gig with those guys, and we had a chat, and then I said we'd have a jam sometime, and then we got back in touch, and yeah, it should be good. We should actually sort of be able to do that thing, that kind of like extended kind of like jam. I don't, that was the sort of plan really.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit different and a little bit of fun. I've not played the retro before, so I don't know anything about the venue, but I know it should be good. But I like doing it. I like what you want with that sort of thing is, you know, I don't like the kind of like the blues jam where people copy each other's licks and all that crap. I cannot be doing with that. I'm more interested in someone weaving in and out of what you're both sort of playing or trading back, but it's a complementary kind of like conversation.
Yeah, going back.
Not who's got the biggest guitar neck. You know what I mean? It's not that's not what you want. You don't want. No. I want people who are cool doing it. Because who are just like nice folks and yeah.
Oh, nice one, man. Well, Troy, it was always great to catch up with you, dude. We're gonna air this ahead of the tour, so all the best for the tour, man. I'll see you in Cambridge.
Yeah.
I'm down for that, buddy. How this works, man. You've been on a few times now. At the beginning of the interview, I'm going to play Native because we were talking about that a little bit. But what song of the album would you like us to play at the end of the interview?
Voodoo Priestess.
Oh, good, cool. Okay, well, lock in Voodoo Priestess, and yeah, I'll see you in a week or so, mate.
Superb, nice one, man.
Good to see you, mate.
You too.